The Arizona Wildcats entering 2023, I think, are one of the more interesting teams around the nation this year because when you take a look at the Arizona Wildcats, I think Jedd Fisch has done a phenomenal job at building this program. However, there are some question marks and a little bit of a mixed bag when you take a look at this Arizona roster. However, I believe the talent level is there for this team to be able to get back into the postseason. So can the Wildcats do just that and break back into the postseason, or maybe even do a little bit more and contend a little bit in the Pac-12, or will this team just be swept under the rug of the Pac-12 again like they have in recent years? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate, and welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 133 FBS level college football teams this summer, and that means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you know when that favorite team gets uploaded. And hey, you guys can do more than that and help me support my channel if you would like. You're doing one right now by watching the video, and you guys can do more by liking, commenting, subscribing, and really doing anything else you can do to help support my channel. That would mean a lot to me. So let's talk about the Wildcats here in 2023. Hey, how do preview predictions work on my channel? We're going to go through a roster overview, take a look at who the team lost, who's coming back, and who's coming in through the transfer portal and recruiting class, as well as taking a look at the 2023 Wildcats football schedule and giving it good old-fashioned game-by-game preview and prediction. So without further ado, I give you the Arizona Wildcats here in 2023. The offense, I think, has a lot of questions answered, and there's a lot of very, very good talent here, including quarterback Jayden de Laura. 3,685 yards on 62% completion percentage last year, 25 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Yeah, that touchdown to interception ratio's got to get worked on. The touchdown number, that's a pretty fine number there with 25. You got to come back on the interceptions, though. But your backup in Noah Fafita also does come back. But Jayden de Laura is going to be that guy here for Arizona to be able to lead this offense. And he can put up big passing numbers. You saw that last year, but touchdown interception ratio definitely does need to get worked on. In the running back room, well, hey, you return three really good players back there. Your leading rusher in Michael Wiley, who had 771 yards and 8 touchdowns. DJ Williams, who had 376 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Jonah Coleman, who had 372 yards and 4 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, Jayden de Laura had 122 yards and 4 touchdowns last season as well. Now, in the wide receiver room, you do lose a very, very talented piece in Dorian Singer, who had 1,105 yards, led the team last year in receiving yards, had 6 touchdowns last season as well. However, there are some phenomenal pieces coming back for this team in the wide receiver room, most notably Jacob Cowling, who was another 1,000-yard receiver last year, former transfer over from UTEP, 1,034 yards and 7 touchdowns to go along with 85 catches last year. And then Tetairoa McMillan had 702 yards and 8 touchdowns. He did lead the team with those 8 touchdowns last season as a freshman, and I think he'll be even better as a sophomore. And then really enter any number of names that you want here, because there's a plethora of options for that number 3 position here with the Arizona Wildcats. A.J. Jones, Chris Hunter, Malachi Riley, Kevin Green, and really any other name you want to throw. They are getting Montana Lamonius Craig, who's a wide receiver transfer coming over from Colorado. He's a 4-star rated transfer. He's not on the screen, but he could be a viable piece in this wide receiver room as well. In the tight end room, Tanner McLaughlin and Kenyon Burnett are going to return. McLaughlin was the 4th leading receiver last year with 456 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. Also, Wiley was that 5th leading receiver for the team last year. And that was all the guys over 100 yards last year. So again, that number 3 option in the wide receiver room, really big and up for grabs. It'll be led by Cowling and McMillan, though, for sure. Offensive line-wise, Josh Donovan and Peyton Fears is gone, but you return Jordan Morgan, Jonah Savalinea. I probably butchered that last name, and I apologize for even trying to pronounce it. And then Josh Baker comes back as well. Defensively, what can we expect from this Arizona team? Well, it's going to be a lot of question marks early on here, as you lose quite a bit from this defense last year. Hunter Echols has gone off the defensive line, had 4.5 sacks, 53 tackles, 6th leading tackler, and did lead the team in sacks last year. Paris Shand is gone. He had 2.5 sacks. Kion Bars was a pretty good option for this team, 39 tackles. He is gone. And then Dion Wilson also gone off of the defensive line as well. That's a lot of talented pieces leaving. So who does come back? Taitai Uiagalelei Taiolis Savea, and then Russell Davis will be back on that defensive line, as well as getting a transfer coming over in Taylor Upshaw, formerly of the Michigan Wolverines and Colorado Buffaloes. He is transferring over to give a lift to this defensive line. Linebacking-wise, again, you lose a lot. Jalen Harris is gone. Had 51 tackles and was second on the team with 3.5 sacks last year. Jerry Roberts was your second leading tackler last year. Jalen Harris is on there twice for whatever reason. I do apologize greatly. And then Colby Cage will be gone there as well. Who do you return? Jacob Manu is going to be coming back to this team. Was that fifth leading tackler last year with 54 tackles, did have 2 pass defended and a sack last year. But hey, you're getting some more transfers coming over to this team. Justin Flo is a former 5-star out of high school, 4-star rated transfer coming over from Oregon. That's a very nice pickup. And then Daniel Haimuli comes over here as well. From the portal. He's coming over from Washington, a 3-star rated transfer according to 24/7. Should be a solid piece of that linebacker room for Arizona. Defensive back-wise, well, Christian Young is gone. That's your 3rd leading tackler from last year, 76 tackles. Christian Roland Wallace was your 4th leading tackler. He is gone, as well as Jackson Turner, who was your leading tackler and led the team with 2 interceptions last season. So Gunnar Maldonado, Traden Stukes, and Isaiah Taylor return in the secondary. Offensively, I like where this team is at. I think they have a lot of very nice pieces. I think this is going to be a very good offensive team. However, defensively, you saw the amount of names, and again, I apologize for Jalen Harris being on there twice, but you saw the amount of names that are going to be leaving this defense. It's an extreme amount. There are a lot of holes to fill on the defensive side of the ball. Your head coach is Jedd Fisch. Your offensive coordinator is Brennan Carroll, and your defensive coordinator is Johnny Nansen as we take a look at the Wildcats 2023 football schedule. Hey, any game at home is going to be underlined, and any game on the road is going to be in italics of the slanted text. Any game you see in green is a game I have Arizona being able to win. Any game in yellow is a game where the other team will put up a fight, but the Wildcats will be able to prevail, and red is a loss. So without further ado, let's predict Arizona here in 2023. They'll get a nice win to start off the year against Northern Arizona. The Lumberjacks, I do not think will be cause for much concern for this Wildcats team. However, then you got to go on the road and play an SEC opponent in Mississippi State. And I think the Bulldogs, well, while I have my questions about them, that's for sure, I do think that's going to be a pretty solid team here out of the SEC. And with Will Rogers at quarterback, doesn't matter who else they have there on the offensive end. I could have said Will Rogers, and that would have been enough. But that passing threat of Will Rogers, that big play attack, and they got some really good players on defense there at Mississippi State as well. They're going to have some really, really good pieces. New head coach, everything like that. But when you look at Will Rogers in this offense, I think they're going to shred this Wildcats defense. And while Arizona has the offense to be able to keep this one competitive and close, I do not see Mississippi State losing, or I should say I do not see Arizona going on the road being able to pull off a win of that kind there against Mississippi State. So I believe the Wildcats will drop their first game there. And then, hey, you play Jacob Cowing's former team in UTEP, and I think they're going to be able to win that one fairly easily. Too much offense for the Miner defense to be able to handle, and then they should get a nice win against Stanford on the road. And while the Cardinal will put up a fight, I do think Stanford's going to be one of, if not the worst teams in Power 5 this season. Stanford has got a long rebuild process ahead of it with Troy Taylor at the helm, and I just do not think Stanford is going to be that great of a football team here in 2023. So with that being said, Arizona goes on the road and I think beats Stanford. Not necessarily pretty handedly. I think the Cardinal will put up a little bit of a fight, but Arizona, I do see being able to win that game. But then the reality of playing in the Pac-12, you got to play some really tough opponents, and the next two on the schedule are brutal, and I think they lose both of them. Let me explain one at a time, but Washington is up first. Look, that team is going to have a phenomenal offense with Michael Penix Jr. at quarterback there. They got some really good options in the running back room and one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country. And if you look at the defensive side of things, if that defensive front seven can stay healthy and that secondary can get that pass defense improved from where it was last year, because it was not that great last year, Washington can be a team that can crash the college football playoff party, more or less the Pac-12 title game, which they are real contenders to do so anyway. So Arizona, I do not see having much luck, especially with the defense that has to figure a lot of things out. And then USC is up here next, same kind of story. I think that offense with USC and the offensive mind and juggernaut that is Lincoln Riley with Caleb Williams are going to overpower the Arizona Wildcats defense. And while the Wildcats have some points to hang close with them, USC, I think, is going to be able to win that one fairly easily. Again, Arizona offensively might put up a fight, but defensively, too many question marks, too many holes. USC offense runs through them. And then you got to go on the road to play Washington State here, which is going to be another very, very tough game that I do think you drop. So things starting to slide downhill here for the Arizona Wildcats. But when I take a look at that Washington State game, Cameron Ward at quarterback, yes, he has a lot of very, very new pieces on that wide receiver room. In fact, it's pretty much all new. Pretty much all of it. Arizona's got some very nice offensive pieces, and defensively, these are two teams looking to replace a lot of talent. So going on the road, I went with who I thought was the better quarterback in Cameron Ward over Jayden DeLaura. And while maybe not as much talent around him offensively, this is a game I absolutely could see Arizona being able to steal on the road. But I think the home crowd will be behind the Cougars, and they'll be able to get the win, handing the Wildcats their third straight loss. And spoiler alert, after their bye week, I think they pick up their fourth straight loss, however, in a very competitive effort with Oregon State. DJ Uiagalelei is that quarterback there. You got Damian Martinez, Deshaun Fenwick, and a lot of very talented pieces on the offense, as well as some good pieces defensively as well. Yes, they do have to replace some key contributors, but when you take a look at the Oregon State team overall, that's a sleeper team in the Pac-12. Jonathan Smith's club has done a phenomenal job in years past. Do not sleep on the Beavers this year. They are going to be a really good team, and I don't see Arizona being able to stop that offense with much luck. So Oregon State wins that game. But I just said don't sleep on Oregon State. Do not sleep on this Arizona team either. Look, you have 5 losses now. It's time for desperation mode. And I think Arizona is going to pull a big win this year, whether it's Mississippi State, and maybe it's one as big as pulling off a win against Washington or USC, or maybe even Oregon State or Utah later in the schedule. I think they beat UCLA right here. Now, UCLA, you could argue, has a lot better talent, especially in that quarterback room. They got a lot of nice pieces. They got some good pieces offensively that are transferring in to help replace pieces that they have lost as well. And defensively, hey, that's a very, very good team with UCLA. But it's that college football gut feeling, right? Like something is going to happen with this Arizona team this year. Magic is going to happen. I think they beat UCLA, pull off the upset. The offense does enough, and Arizona starts to get back on their feet. And then I think they go on the road, very, very tough, competitive game, and they beat Colorado. We know the story. Deion Sanders has flipped Boulder on its head. Pretty much everyone is leaving that program and everyone else coming in. It's an entirely new roster. And I'm of the mind that Deion Sanders is going to start winning very quickly. However, I don't see it being this year. I think Colorado's going to have their struggles, going to have their tests, and going to have their ups and downs in year one under Deion Sanders. However, moving forward from this year, I really like Colorado, just not this year. I do think Arizona is going to be able to win that game there. And then Utah is coming up here. Well, the Wildcats suffer a minor setback here with the Utah Utes. I think this Utes team, with the experience of Cam Rising and what he has offensively, he should be well healthy and ready to go by this point. He is recovering from knee surgery, but the Utes have too many pieces offensively. I think they're going to score some points, and that defense, I think it's going to be very physical and shut down Jayden DeLaura and that Arizona offense. But Wildcat fans, I do have you making a bowl game. I do have you beating your rivals against Arizona State. A lot of very talented transfers coming in there, but I think it's going to take a couple years for Kenny Dillingham to really get going. So Arizona at 6-6 entering this year. Look, a lot of very, very talented games, or a lot of very, very scary games, a lot of very close games, but Arizona's got the talent, especially offensively, to make a bowl game this year. Defensively, we'll see what they're made of, but I got this team going bowling here in 2023. So let me know what you guys think about the Wildcats in my comment section below. But hey, until the next one, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See all you guys soon. Goodbye.